Thank you for joining us for this sermon podcast from United Church on the Green, located in New Haven, Connecticut. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are invited and welcome. If you enjoy this podcast and would like to learn more about our open and affirming ministry at United Church on the Green, please visit our website at unitednewhaven.org. Thank you.
Welcome this morning. It's so good to see you all. I'm so glad you're all spread out in your fans and the cool air, but I'm so happy to see you all here. And if no one has told you how very glad we are that you are here, indeed we are glad. And welcome to all who have no church home, who need strength, or who want to follow Christ, or who have doubt, or who do not believe. Welcome to new visitors. Welcome to old friends. Welcome to children and to grandchildren, to grandparents and to mothers and fathers and to single people. And welcome to families of all configurations, to young and to old, to believers and to questioners, and to questioning believers. Welcome to everyone. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are more than welcome here. I ask now that you rise so that we might sing the first hymn, and the living water be brought down along with the Bible. dear God, may the words of my mouth and meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable unto you, O God, our Creator and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, on my first Sunday here, over 3 years ago, I was greeted at the church door by June Richards, welcoming me into the United Church family. Then Alfredo met me, and with his debonair bow tie and gentle spirit, greeted me and told me through tears how much this church has meant to him over all the years. My old friends from the 1970s that I've known for a long time, Roger and Barbara Adams, and Karen and John Schneider, greeted me, and I walked down the aisle to meet Rev Kev, who's finishing up his last Sunday as your interim pastor. I felt welcomed, and I was excited to start this new leg of my ministries and my journey with all of you. That was over 3 years ago, and still that image of graciousness remains with me. Thank you. A few weeks ago, Serena said, "I love this church. It is so welcoming," and so did Rosalind. 2 Sundays ago, Joelle, a new attender, said, "Today I have found my church home." Well, we all feel this way, don't we? United has so much to offer so many of us as our church family, and let me tell you why. Not only is it that the pastor stands outside the open doors in the sunshine and cold weather, waving hello, come on in, backed by our deacon on the door and the stewards and those who know how important first impressions are. And not only is it the welcome invitation at the start of the service, nor the announcements inviting people to let us know all about them, and the invitation to come down to coffee hour, where we have round tables where one can sit and one can talk and not be intimidated with good food and conversation following. But more importantly, it is because none of us are alone. Alongside us, you see, we are representing Jesus Christ. Following us into the church, into the meeting house, into the Bradley room, and invisibly but truly in the entire church, and out those doors. You are bringing God with you, standing for so much more than yourself, but rather as God's representative. People, this is what this gospel message says to us today. That's what it's all about. This saying of Jesus, you see, would have been very familiar to all who heard it at the time of Jesus. He was using a way of speaking that Jews regularly used. They felt that when one received another person who was an envoy or a messenger, it was the same as receiving the person, him or herself. The rabbis used to say, "One who shows hospitality to the wise is as if they brought the first fruits of their presence into the presence of God. One who greets the learned is as if it were greeting God. If one is a true person of God, to receive another is to receive the God who sent them." So as you recall, these poor old disciples, these ragtag group of scared and nervous disciples, were being sent out on a mission by Jesus. They are called, though, to be more than just themselves, more than their own identity, more than their own fears and anxieties and insecurities and wanderlessness. In everything they did, Jesus calls them to go out, to teach and to preach and to heal and to listen and to encourage. They were doing God's work by doing their own hands and feet. Jesus says, "Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me." So the disciples heard Jesus instructing them to serve him by serving others, by making Christ visible, welcoming and giving and receiving hospitality. And listen to this. recognizing his face not only in others, but also in our own. There's a wonderful old story I heard once. It's about a cobbler, but not the one that we all know about the cobbler who had no shoes, but a very different story. This is a story of graciousness and of discipleship. There was a young boy in a country village who, after overcoming many obstacles, reached the ministry. His mentor had been an old cobbler who read a great deal and was very, very wise. When the young man had studied long and hard and was ready to be licensed to preach, his mentor said to him, "It has been an honor to work with you, to guide you through your studies and to support you. You know, I had always wanted to be a minister, but life circumstances prevented me from doing that. But you have achieved my calling and my dream. So I want you to promise me one thing. I want to make and cobble your shoes, and I want you to wear them when you preach, and go out and do your ministry in the streets and in the homes. And then I will feel you are preaching the gospel that I always wanted to preach, standing in my shoes." The old cobbler was serving God just as the preacher was. The preacher was reflecting the light of the faith of another, and ultimately, the light of Christ. Well, dear friends, I feel very much the same way when you've all given me stoles that you made when I wear them. I represent your own call to ministry in any way that I know, in any way that I can. The disciples are Christ's representatives. As we know, we too are called to act as if Christ is in us. Also, the inverse of this, to see Christ in one another. In those who are hungry and homeless and thirsty and lonely and sick and refugees and victims of violence, the marginalized, as well as those you meet at the door of United, who are sitting in the pew right behind you. We are called to see Christ in the faces of others, and in all for whom Christ lived and who died. In our sermon talkbacks, many spoke about how important it is that we do better marketing, passing out flyers, telling people what we do here and who we are. It is each responsibility of people here to do just that. We don't want to be New Haven's best-kept secret, do we? We could bring Christ present with us as we bear his image to one another, sharing the good news of the gospel and welcoming hospitality to all, no matter who one is or where one is on one's journey. And I am constantly reminded of Barb Adams's quilts in the back of the sanctuary, the meeting house, that says we are to go out into the world and do our justice-seeking par excellence. This people is modern-day evangelism, well known in liberal Protestant circles, the chosen frozen as the bad E word. But what it means is to share who we are and whose we are, and in all that we do, to see Christ in others' faces as well as reflected in our own. We need to live out our faith, welcoming and giving gracious hospitality, recognizing Christ's face not only in others, but also in our own, and finding it contagious. Can you do this? I spent part of this reading week reading about church growth and strategic plans and talking about the future of our congregation. And every single chapter talks about the generous hospitality that churches need to have. People, we're past chapter 1. The image of the gospel in reading of the cup of cold water is in contrast to the fierceness of thirst in that sun-struck land and the merciless sun that was so hot on everyone. cup of cold water, as I said, is living water, the source of love, the source of acceptance and welcoming. Conjures up a proverbial expression for a minor service, an act of loving kindness. That is the final test of true discipleship. Can you imagine on a hot day like this, going through the green and giving the thirsty a cup of cold water? Tell me, people, what would that mean? This is a holy welcome and full of loving kindness and of grace. We who have much can give much in Jesus' name. Our final hymn is one that Dan chose for us. It speaks of the cup of water given for thee. Still holds the freshness of thy grace. Yet long these multitudes to see the sweet companion and compassion of thy face. O Master, from the mountain side, make haste to heal these hearts of pain. Among these restless throngs abide. Teach and reach the city streets alive. People, we have bottles of cold water up here left for you. There will be some downstairs. And whether you take this metaphor literally or figuratively, let us give a cup of cold water to others. Amen.